Hey guys, welcome back to the internet. Hope you're all having a good weekend. So, it does seem like we are getting close to the Halloween season soon, and I've been thinking for a while that I want to do sort of like more scary story videos. I know that a big part of my audience isn't really a fan of the scary stories, so I'll try not to like replace any current stuff with that, so expect it to be sort of like some bonus videos here and there. But for now, let's start with some entitled people. Take up 2 cars worth of parking spots? Okay, enjoy the karma. So this happened to me earlier today. I was driving to a potluck at a friend's place and pulled up to his street. He lives in an apartment complex with a community center at street level. I saw an empty space that could easily fit 2 cars in right in front of the community center and thought, dang, those spots are perfect. These are the kind of spots you have to parallel park into, by the way. Before I could pull up, a car immediately sped right around me and immediately swerved smack dab right into the middle of the empty space, leaving plenty of room on either end of the car. I kinda just stared at the car, a little dumbfounded at what I had witnessed. After a few seconds, I just shrugged it off and assumed that the person will either go forward or backwards, and then open up a space for another car to fit behind or in front of their car. Nope. Car lights turn off, I see the driver's silhouette moving around getting her stuff. Immediately, I pulled up to the car and rolled down my window. The driver saw me and rolled down her window. I asked her if she could maybe go forwards or backwards since there's plenty of room to do either, and so that I can park also. She gives me this weird face that seems to be a mixture of boo-hoo and what you gonna do, before proceeding to get a camera and pointing it at me. Seeing how I'm not going to go anywhere with her, I just rolled up my window and continued down my friend's street for another parking spot. I luckily found one nearby and only needed to walk up the street a little more to reach the community center. Upon arriving at the community center, my friend exclaimed how they witnessed the whole thing and called the driver a jerk before proceeding with the potluck. After eating our fill, right when my friend and I were going to start our Smash Bros session, we noticed how the car behind the entitled driver's car, the only one that was a decent distance away, was now replaced with another car that was much closer to the entitled driver's car. Closer than what's usually comfortable. The car initially in front of her car, again, same decent distance away, was also gone. Suddenly a large, and I mean large, white truck pulled up to the spot and somehow managed to squeeze into the spot right in front of the entitled driver's car, leaving pretty much 3 inches of space left between her front bumper and the back of the white truck. My friends noticed me staring at the phenomenon, beginning to howl with laughter and scream about karma. We then started our Smash Bros session. About 1 or 2 hours in, everyone was taking a quick snack and drink break. I was standing next to the window checking my Pokemon Go when I start hearing banging on the windows. I looked towards the windows and lo and behold, it was the entitled driver. She looked like her face was going to explode. I exited the community center, but not without calling a friend over to watch in case anything happens. The entitled driver immediately tells me to move my car, to which I tell her that neither of those cars belong to me. My car is way over there. The entitled driver again demands I need to move the cars, as she's got something important to do. I shrug and tell her that I can't help her, before re-entering the community center to continue the potluck. My friends and I watch as this lady painstakingly eases her car out of the post for a good 15 minutes before speeding off. And see, probably none of this would have even happened if she had just made room for another spot. But man, I honestly hate parallel parking. I'll usually just keep driving if I only see one parallel parking spot open, because I don't really trust myself to navigate around traffic and actually get in there. Now we've got, customer tries to return a bucket of water in place of paint. So I work in a large orange-colored hardware store chain. I get a lot of crazy returns like bricks and drill boxes, rocks and lawnmower boxes, open and used products, and some things that are just plain ridiculous. However, those can make stories in themselves. So one day I got a return that was a 5-gallon bucket of paint. I go to open the bucket and it's water. The guy returning it insisted that it was paint and that it was defective. So I called the manager over and he came over and was like, "What's the problem?" And I replied, "This guy's trying to return a bucket of paint and it's water." He then opens the bucket, confirms it's water, and says to the customer, "Well, there's the problem, you just haven't mixed it. If you want, we can take it over to the paint desk and have it mixed." To which the guy, not wanting to admit he's wrong, hesitantly says, "Sure, let's do that." So I watch as the manager has the paint desk put tint in the bucket of water, and mix it, all the while the customer is standing there with a look of defeat. The customer eventually left with his bucket of colored water and was satisfied. Wow, that's actually a pretty clever way of deterring people trying to make bogus returns. It's like, oh, it was defective? Well, let's just fix that right up. Absolutely the angriest I've ever been at work. Rant. Hello, front desk attendants. Today has been physically and mentally exhausting because of the worst group I've had, and I just need to rant for a moment. So this weekend, we have a kids' soccer tournament staying with us for a few nights. With that always comes the obnoxious amount of yelling children, and parents whose only goal it is to see who can get the drunkest the fastest. while also completely ignoring their children. I could go on for quite a while about how much I dislike kids' sports groups, but I know that most of you probably already know a bit too much about them, so I'll just cut to about 11:30 p.m. I had just gotten a noise complaint, not the first nor the last, from the 5th floor, so I told the other person at the desk that I would go check it out and that I'd be back. We have 2 elevators in our hotel, and one of them hasn't worked in about a week, so I've been taking the stairs instead of waiting forever for the one. I run up to the 5th floor and open the stairwell door, look into the hallway, and I have to just stop and stare for probably a good 10 seconds or so at what was in the hallway. A group of parents had managed to get the entire sectional sofa bed from the room into the hallway, and they were sitting on it drinking beer. Guys, I've never been more mad than this moment in my entire time working in customer service, but I had to deal with this situation somehow, and I knew that if I evicted all of them like I wanted, that there was a very good chance that I would get a write-up. Sales is insane. I get over to them, and I'll share the conversation. So the a-hole guy says, "Uh-oh, the big man himself is here." Then the nice guy says, "Man, I told you this was a bad idea. He looks pissed." I say, "So I gotta ask, what's going on here?" Trying very hard not to lose my crap. The guy says, "I'm sorry, sir, we just wanted to sit out here because we thought it would be more convenient to talk to our friends across the hall. We didn't see any rules that said we couldn't move the furniture." He grimaced as soon as he said that last part, and almost made me laugh, honestly. I say, "Sir, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to move this back into the room. Now, it is not allowed at all to move the furniture into the hallway." The other guy says, "Show me the rule." I say, "Excuse me?" "The rule, show it to me." I say, "Sir, this couch needs to go back into the room now, or you're gonna be evicted." He says, "I'm not being evicted until I see the rule." I say, "Sir, honestly, even if it's not officially in the rule book, if the couch doesn't go back in the room right now, you will not be staying here. And I assure you that everywhere else around here is sold out." The nice guy says, "Dude, I'm not sleeping in the car. If you're not gonna help him get this back in there, then I am. Get off the couch, man." He says, F him. If he wants the couch moved, he can move it with me on it." I say, "Sir, I feel as if this has escalated to the point where I believe that I need police intervention. We're getting this couch in the room now, or I'm calling the police." There was a good 15 seconds of silence. He stands up, says, "I'm going to bed. F you." Then me and the nice guy moved the couch back into the room. I thanked him and let him know that if I had even a single complaint about the room, then they were out, and went downstairs. Am I overreacting? Because I was fuming for hours after this. See, here's the problem with people like this. Like, you ever go to somebody's house, and you're like, man, these people are so trashy, their house is a complete dump, but whatever, it's just their house, they have to deal with it, I can leave whenever I want. But then those same people go to like a hotel or something, and then they treat the hotel room like it's their crappy home. So yeah, it's kind of hard to mix with people like that. Alright, we're back with another Today I Effed Up post. I haven't seen one of these in a while. Today I effed up by sleeping in a loft. So this literally happened last night. So my husband and I are celebrating our 1-year anniversary with a mini moon, since we didn't have a honeymoon when we got married. We decided to go to a romantic, touristy island near Canada for the weekend, and do sightseeing and eat all the fudge we can before getting diabetes. Some of you can probably guess where we're at by now. Now, staying on the island itself is crazy expensive, so I found us a cute little Airbnb tiny house style cabin to stay in instead. It's cute, has a sauna, fire pit, and loft bed area. The drive up was long and uneventful. When we first got to the cabin, we decided to find a fun place to eat and have a few local beers before turning in. This was my first mistake. I ended up drinking 4 hard ciders of unknown alcohol content, and getting a pretty good buzz. We decided when we get back to the cabin to just go straight to bed, so we crawl up there and pass out. I slept on the side closest to the TV, farthest from the stairs. This was my second mistake. At some point, I have to pee. Bad. So I start to get down from the loft. But I wasn't fully awake. And I didn't take the stairs. Dear readers, I decided in my half-asleep state to climb over the railings by the TV, because I thought the stairs were there. I come to a full conscious when I crashed to the floor hard. I screamed for my dear to save me since I didn't know the damage and still had to pee. He flew down the stairs and helped me get to the bathroom, and set me up on the couch for the rest of the night because I was too scared to be up in the loft again. Luckily I didn't break anything, on myself or the cabin, or hit my head, but my hip took the brunt of the fall and we have a full day of sightseeing today, and a 7-hour car ride home tomorrow. You know, I don't think you effed up by sleeping in a loft, I think you effed up by drinking too much. Alright, time for the finale story from Entitled Parents. Entitled Mom calls police on public library, get detained. So this happened yesterday, and we have a meeting about it later today. I work for a library in a small rural town. We have a policy, if anyone calls or comes in looking for someone, we're not allowed to tell them if they are here or not, or where they can find them. This is for cases if someone is looking to fight someone, or a rando is looking for a child that may or may not be theirs. Now with that logic in place, let's set the scene. I was working in circulation last night, and around 6 p.m. we get a call. I answer. I say, hello, this is Anon County Library. How may I help you? The entitled mom says, yes, I'm looking for my daughter, and gives a brief description. She should be there. She came in with another lady. I say, sorry ma'am, we are not allowed to tell you who's here or not, as we cannot verify that you are who you claim to be. She says, what? I say, we cannot tell you if a child is here because we cannot verify if you are the parent. She says, what the heck? She pauses and gets distant. I hear her yell to somebody in the background. Says, they won't tell if she's there because they can't verify I'm the parent of my own freaking daughter. She abruptly hangs up the phone. Since we're the only two there for closing for the night, I tell my coworker we might get an angry lady, and looking for a child, she already knows we can't tell her anything. What's important is that she is at reference while I'm at circ. She basically looks after study rooms and computer labs while I look at the stacks so no one can watch desk. And sure enough, around 10 to 15 minutes later, the entitled mom huffs into the place. She says, where is my daughter? I say, this is a library, ma'am. You need to lower your voice or you need to leave. And I told you on the phone, we're not allowed to tell you who is here, but you can have a look around. She says, to tell me to lower my freaking voice? I'm looking for my daughter, stupid. Now where is she? I say, again, I cannot tell you. Now lower your voice and stop cussing or I'll be forced to call the police to escort you out of the building. So a little side note, our library is right next to the police station, like directly across. We're neighbors. She gets quite a huffs around the place. We're not that big, so it takes about 5 minutes to look everywhere a patron can be. Once she finished, she comes back, and this is where the crap really hits the fan. She says, I couldn't find my daughter out there. I'm gonna check back there. She points at the entrance to the staff-only back room for desk workers. I say, ma'am, you cannot go back there. That's only for the two of us working, and I can't allow you back there in the first place. It could be a liability. She says, my daughter could be back there. Unlikely, as you have to have the keys to open that door. I say, ma'am, the final answer is no. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. You're being very disruptive and disturbing the peace. She says, no, I'm calling the police. You're holding my daughter hostage. I say, what the? She proceeds to actually call the police while I sit there dumbfounded. About 5 minutes later, 3 police cars arrive for a retrieval of a child who wasn't there. As they walk in, the entitled mom starts screeching, they have my daughter locked up in the back and won't let her out. The police officer looks confused, because we're a public library, so I have to explain what's happening and unlock the staff only for them to search, just in case. The entitled mom smirks and says, was that so hard, you freaking idiot? The police officer says, lady, there's no one back here. Do you know where your daughter was last? Says, she was here last, and this jerk wouldn't tell me if she was here or not. I say, our policy is we can't tell you if someone is here, but you're free to look around. We do this to prevent people from looking for their drug dealer, or looking for a specific person to fight. Or in the case of children, so they're not abducted, we can't confirm you are the parent. Photos don't help because we don't know if they're not allowed to see the child because of visitation issues from divorce or loss of custody. In this case, it was the very last option. The police officer just shakes her head. Says, did he tell you this already? Says, yes, but... She starts to choke up. At this point, a woman and a girl walk in with snacks and a drink from the gas station a couple blocks down. The woman starts to yell, says, why the heck are you here? Did you come here to see this child? Are you insane? We've discussed this many times with the father. You can't be popping up trying to see this child. Says, but I miss my baby. I wanted to see her. Says, you lost that right when you left her in a car to buy drugs. And you disappeared for hours. You're lucky that she is even here. The entitled mom starts to bawl. The officers split up and talk to the lady, while the others detain the entitled mom to see if she needs to be arrested. Sadly, this is where it ends, as we're not told anything, but it is really freaking crazy, and pretty fun. I mean, we get a lot. Man, I just gotta say, that was some of the worst grammar and punctuation I've ever seen in a story, so that was really hard to read. But man, I didn't realize so much really went down at public libraries. Alright, well let's finish off today with the question. The 2010s decade will be over in 4 months. What do you think people will remember this decade for? The rise of the smartphone. Everyone has access to the internet and can voice their opinion towards the world at any moment with all the negative effects that it brings. Yeah, that one actually goes along with the next one, the social media explosion. So I have a hard time really saying that the 2010s are going to be remembered for, like, you know, social media and smartphones and stuff, because I feel like we're just getting into the beginning of that, you know? Do we look back at, like, the 1930s and the 1940s as like, ooh, that was the television era? It's like, I mean, yeah, television started then, but it kind of just kept evolving from there. It's not like it was specific to that time period. So, like, saying that 2010s were the social media era, it's like, I don't think that's just going to stop come 2020. A lot of the things we see from a certain decade is really only going to be apparent in future decades, because for something to only be specific to one decade, it usually has to start and end within that time period. But let's move to the next one. The death of traditional media. Printed newspapers and periodicals, broadcast television, and radio are fading. And while digital music way predates the 2010s, it took until this decade for pop stars to stop selling albums. They aren't tallying CD sales anymore, they're counting unique streams. Yeah, this is something I feel is especially true in maybe like the last 4 or 5 years. Because it's like it used to be you needed some big marketing company to run like a TV station or a radio station. But now everyone has access to the internet, and we basically all get to have our own shows and our own, radio podcasts and stuff like that. I mean, heck, I've got my own show here and I've got no real talent or budget. So it's pretty cool that just about anybody can like really stand out on the internet if there's something like worth seeing. People are going to reminisce about how good the 2010s were. They may not seem good now, but just wait to see what the 20s have in store for you. Man, that's so true. I've been so miserable in so many times in my life. Yeah, I can look back on almost any period of my life and think that it was like a good time. Something about that. You usually only remember the good times. Now here's the post that's actually answering the question. From a design and aesthetic standpoint, minimalism, flat design, mostly due to the rise of tablets and browsing the internet on mobile devices, clean lines, simple colors like black, white, and gray. TV commercials, early 2010s ads are backed up by upbeat xylophone, triangle, whistling, hand-clapping music, or people breakdancing or doing the worm to obnoxious dubstep music. The late 2010s have vivid colors and imagery, vaporwave-style aesthetic, and loud, over-the-top spokespeople talking fast in the middle of the screen. Think Captain Obvious from the Hotels.com commercials, or Terry Crews from the Old Spice commercials. Entering a new golden age of automatic design, almost every new car from the decade is elaborately styled, car interiors with angular, intricate dashboards, like the Ford Escape, Chevy Equinox, or Hyundai Santa Fe. This might end in the 2020s, as crash safety technology requires more cars to look the same, and car interiors will replace dashboards and gauges with touchscreens. Thanks, Tesla. A move away from chain restaurants, and the rise of food trucks, and locally owned restaurants that all feature string lighting, outdoor tables with giant Jenga blocks, Edison bulbs, and craft beer selection written on a chalkboard, and all houses painted in that greige color, and have all white kitchens with that same white subway tile backsplash. There's probably a barn door, shiplap accent wall, and a fiddle leaf fig inside. Man, I gotta be honest, I kinda like spaced out probably like the second half of all of those. I have no idea what it's even talking about. But yeah, what do you guys think the 2010s will be remembered by? I think the problem with like trying to identify decade-long trends is that with the internet, trends come and go so fast. That it's like, instead of it taking 10 years for like, clothing styles to come and go, it's kind of like things are just changing like every day. But anyways, that was kind of a different question than usual, so hopefully you enjoyed, and yeah, I guess I'll talk to you guys next time.